Okay, we've got to talk about the Nazca mummies. That's right, we've got DNA to go over from a few different analyses of the genetics of these amazing beings. So let's talk about it. Get in here. This is Jack with Cosmic Road. I talk about UFOs and the paranormal. Please hit like and subscribe and let me know what you think in the comments below. Okay, to start with, we'll go over this really intriguing report from the Alien Project. And they have this really, detailed scientific analysis of the beings. I think in this particular analysis, they were looking at Maria, the human-sized being, and also one of the hands of the tridactyl giants, the big guys with the hands. You know those guys. Where are those hands? Where are those hands? Yeah, those guys. So now in this one, I was actually able to get my wife to look over this. My wife is a molecular biologist, a PhD, a scientist. Actually, her title is chief scientist at the tech company that she works at. And she's done, genetic, modifications before. She knows what she's talking about with the genes. So I asked her to look over this, and she surprised me by actually looking it over. I can't tell you how many things I've sent her over the years that, she doesn't really look over. She has very little interest in the UFOs, unfortunately. But she's been intrigued enough by the Nazca mummies to take a look at this. And her take on it is that this report is genuine, or whoever wrote it is an actual PhD, somebody with a background in medicine or science, and this seems legit. She really wants more information. She wants to see the raw data. Got to have more data, but that's totally understandable in this context, or any context really. Anyway, so there is a way to contact people to get the raw data, to do further analysis, and to really do a deep dive into the genes of these beings. I don't think she's quite motivated enough to look at the raw data, but she might be. So we'll see. We also have a different report from somebody on Reddit that did their own independent review, and it's really good. It's really good. So we'll go over both of the, and they studied also one of the small beings. These guys. Actually, they studied the one that didn't have a head, but the same type of being. So let's go over it. Okay. Sequencing analysis, a few words maybe for non-technical audience. I'm not going to read any of that, sorry. But you can read this at your leisure, and I will link to it below. Maria, general summary. Number of bases and reads, and it gets all the technical stuff. Percentage of reads mapped to human genome, 33. Interesting. Percentage of reads mapped to bacterial and other genome, 18. Percentage of total reads unmapped or unclassified, 47. So they're getting 1/3 roughly human. I mean, almost exactly 1/3 human, and others unknown. Now, it's a little more complicated than that, and we'll get into that. But there you can go, all the various reads and the measurements and all that kind of stuff for Maria. And we will get into some other stuff. Now here you can go through the more detailed stuff. That's all the bacteria they found. And here's for the big hand. And this was really interesting. Reads aligned to human genome. Percentage of reads mapped to human genome. Less than 1%. So that's interesting. But it gets weirder. And there is a little conflicting information. So we'll go over all that. It's a little dry, but it's exciting. So bear with me. There's all that stuff, and there's comparing it to other animals, monkeys and dogs and cats and horses and baboons. As you can see, basically 0% alignment. with any of those animals. Okay, so let me go back over here. Trying to do this without any cutting. Okay, there we go. There is one of the snapshots. As you can see, we have 30% human, and 90% metazoa, and we'll go over what all these mean. And I want to say that is for the big hand. That's what the pictures are of. Okay. So we go back to, here we go. Here's the identified reads and the unidentified reads, all the stuff. And this is like the critical part right here. So what is that? What is that being? 30% human on this analysis. 97% it's cellular. It's metazoa. I want to say that means it's got multiple cells. And what are all these words mean? Katarhini means it's the sister group of the monkeys. So it's some sort of monkey or ape. That's them taking the samples. And let's see. So it's 82% hominoidea. And if you don't know what hominoidea is, neither did I. I mean, you can probably figure it out from the spelling more or less. But yeah, hominid, ape, right? So then it's 68% hominae, which is great apes. Getting closer. 68, yeah. There's homidae, and then there's hominae. And hominae is African apes specifically. So there you go. They're really narrowing it down, but only 30% human in this sample. So some sort of hominid with a little modern human in it. This is from Nazca Mummies. Dissection of one of the large hands. Samples were sent to 3 labs responsible for the DNA analyses. 2 samples for each lab. The DNA sequenced ancient 003 is now available online at the National Library of Medicine database. And that is where we go, National Library of Medicine. That's what I was just reading from. So others have taken up the challenge of analyzing this DNA. And that's really interesting. So we're going to go over to the Reddit post. And it's long. There's a lot of it. I'm analyzing the alien mummy DNA, so you don't have to. Well, thank you, Verbal Cant. I appreciate that. And this is actually the second post. The other was their updates on their ongoing analyses, and they looked at these beings. We've completed the alignment of the reads, etc. So that this is the updates. Giving us the dates and how their analyses are progressing. Here are their results. Here's our paper. Mummies the word. Okay, mummies the word. A genomic look at Peruvian mummies. Things we didn't find. Evidence of alien origin. Evidence that the mummies are human. Evidence of genetic engineering. Evidence of faked samples. Things we did find. 3 high-throughput next-generation sequencing sample run files showing high levels of contamination and degradation completely consistent with ancient DNA extracted over lying for hundreds or thousands of years in a cave. Reasonable statistical evidence that the sample run files were not computationally faked. Samples largely dominated by prokaryotic DNA, bacteria and archaea, and unclassified reads. Varying percentages of human-aligned DNA in all samples. interesting, varying percentages of human-aligned DNA in all samples. A surprising and perplexing result for ancient 0003, that is one of the large hands, with some very strong alignment to the human genome. It's showing 95%, which is, at odds with that other report that I was just reading from the National Library of Medicine. This is, I guess, the not ancient aliens, but the Alien Project report. To the mitochondrial DNA most closely related to, in our investigation, to a modern population. Okay, this is where it gets weird, right? Modern population in Myanmar. I'll repeat, the giant three-fingered hand that could have been a being, a 3-meter tall being with 3 fingers and 3 toes, had 95% of alignment with human DNA of Myanmar, not indigenous Peruvian, broader indigenous American or European. So how did somebody get? How did a human from Myanmar and on the other side of the world? Well, first of all, how did he become a 3-meter tall being with 3 fingers? How did he get over in Peru? I don't know about these guys' results. I don't know who these guys are, but they do a really professional presentation, and you can see how into what detail they go into. My wife hasn't had a chance to go over this yet. Discussion, that's the conclusion. Along with varying alignments with the human genome, we discovered a wide range of ancient microbial life and an unexpected genetic linkage to Myanmar, specifically through mitochondrial DNA haplogroup in the sample. That's the haplogroup in the sample ancient 3. The lack of American subclades in the Asian lineage proposes new questions about the origins of the human DNA in that sample. Was it more likely? What was it the most likely explanation? A simple mishandling of the samples along the chain of custody, or does it enrich the story of human migration? It's a giant being with 3 fingers. I'm guessing contamination, but again, that's completely at odds with what these guys were finding. So they were finding the giant hands to only be 30%. They were finding a large hominid component. Over 80% hominid, but of some unknown species, not corresponding to humans. So I'm inclined to think that makes more sense, somewhat, than somebody from Myanmar. The giant 3-fingered being from Myanmar, being human. So, I'm not sure about these guys' results. But it's fascinating. The smaller beings, let's get into the smaller beings. Let me find it for you. Okay, the samples all showed some alignment with the human genome, with the 2 samples from Victoria showing, and Victoria's the small being, showing less, 10% of the deduplicated ancient 2 reads aligned to the human genome, and 12% of the ancient 4 reads aligned. And I believe both of those are from Victoria, the small being with no head. While ancient 3, the large hand, from an unspecified mummy showed 95% alignment to the human genome. Regarding the question about whether we can confirm that it's part of the dominant genome in the sample, unfortunately we cannot. So anyway, the small mummies, according to this analysis, are showing only 10% of their DNA aligned with human, and they're finding 95% for the big one, which again makes no sense at all. And yeah, but this is interesting from Sarah. Uh, Sarah Palin. I'm not going to read that whole. Okay, fascinating. So it sounds like we can take the cobbled remains of human bodies hypothesis and the computationally falsified DNA hypothesis off the table, at least for 2 and 4. That's Victoria, the small mummy. Those aren't human and they don't match anything in the system, and these samples are consistent with ancient mummy contamination. 3 can't be ruled out as human, but is more bizarre in that its DNA didn't match that of ancient Peruvians, but people from a completely different region of the world. Unless a 3-fingered person from Southeast Asia made the journey to Peru, then lost their hand there, or a mummy from that region was modified and transferred to Peru, that whole situation makes very little sense. I agree. It makes no sense at all. It also goes against the official study that shows, again, in the giant hand, only 30% human, but a whole lot of hominid for some reason. So could this be a genetically engineered hominid? I don't know. The Redditor that posted that study didn't see any signs of genetic engineering, which, you know, so if that's possible to detect, and apparently it is, then I don't know how you could have arrived at a giant 3-fingered being. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of it all, but it looks like these small guys are very inhuman, and the larger guys are more human. Anyway, thank you for bearing with me on this episode. I wish I understood genetics better, and I wish I could present this in a more entertaining way. But there you go. Let me know what you think about these results. At the least, it does look like there's a lot of unknown there, and a lot of things that don't make any sense. They look genuine. The results look genuine. They don't look like they were faked or tampered with or artificial in any way. Nothing looks faked. So a lot of unknowns, lots and lots of unknowns, as you would expect in a genuine case like this. But you do get these conflicting reports from what I'm seeing, different people getting different results. And I don't know what that means, but let me know what you think it all means in the comments below. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a big thumbs up. I'd sure appreciate it. Smash the subscribe button and the bell to be notified of future videos. If you want to support Cosmic Road in a bigger way, please grab a t-shirt in the merch store below, or become a channel member, because channel members are rock stars. And I really appreciate you guys' support. Also, channel members frequently get to see videos hours ahead of everybody else. Meanwhile, there are plenty of other videos on the channel. I'll see you guys next time. This is Jack with Cosmic Road, signing out.